So, hello, friends. Greetings to everybody who's with us right now and everybody who comes to listen to this session, tune into this session later on. It's very lovely to be back. Big gratitude to Bhante Siddhartha and Ayya for this opportunity to share on Dhamma for Buddhist insights. And it's very lovely to know that the two venerables will soon be returning to Empty Cloud Monastery, if they've not already arrived, and also the good friends who are with them, venerables, and also lay friends who are travelling with them. And big gratitude to Bhante Jayasaro for holding the fort and offering so many good teachings and monk chats and being there for the monastery while the venerables have been away. Sadhu, Bhante. So we can begin this session, as usual, with some meditation time together. And I'll give a little bit of guidance for a few minutes, and we'll sit together for 30 minutes, for half an hour. So please make yourselves comfortable. And let's sit or stand or even lie down in a comfortable and supported way. So if we're sitting or standing, to have an upright posture, and lying down to have a simple posture, lying on the back. Aligned with a straight, kind of symmetrical posture. And coming into the body, as always, when we sit to meditate, we start to recognize what we can know in this moment, don't we? And what can we know right now? Good to close the eyes, good to move away from the visual sense door, the eye door, sense door, and to come into the body more fully then, with less distraction, with less that pulls us out from this simple experience of being here. And it's so helpful to just allow the body to relax by bringing attention to bear and just noticing as we sit and we come into the meditation time, noticing what reveals itself to us. And what tends to reveal itself is any areas in the body and also in the mind where there is tension, stress, some kind of momentum, some kind of holding. So really just noticing any areas of holding, a mild discomfort of that. And as we notice, we can enable loosening up, letting go, and relaxation, and a kind of realignment to happen. Physically and also mentally, just allowing the mind to also settle and come to a peaceful place through directing our attention to what is present now. Body sitting, feel the weight of the body. Feel the body touching the ground, the earth. We may not be sitting directly on the earth, but we surely are connected to it through whatever structures we're sitting upon, standing upon, lying upon. And so we can feel the quality of earth, our closeness to the earth and our connection. Earth element, the solid, the material structure, the weight, shared with all material things, shared with Mother Earth, part of Mother Earth. So to bring the attention to the meeting place, the sense of edge where this body meets the earth, a sense of a kind of separation, because we can feel this body. And so focusing on the feeling of connecting, touching, resting upon. And as we focus our energy and attention, mindfulness, we can even notice sometimes the movement of energy toward the ground, grounding, calming. There's a quality of soothing, almost like discharging tension, stress, holding patterns in the body. So let's enjoy coming down to the earth, grounding, allowing our attention to go deep down to the base of the body, to touching the earth. Breathing out, breathing deeply, deep in the belly, base of the body. And we can work with our energy, because if we have an excess of energy, if there's restlessness or tension or racing thoughts, a surfeit of energy in the system, very helpful to focus on the base of the body and the breathing out breaths. Give a special attention to that quality of letting go, release, relaxation that we can feel with every out breath. And so we can balance the surfeit of energy and allow it to ground itself, to relax, letting go, calming, soothing. On the other hand, if you have a lack of energy, this may be sending you into dull and sleepy states, then it's really helpful to focus also on the body sitting in this period of time, but bring the attention more to the in-breath, inspiration, breathing in vitality, life, prana. Feel the energy coming into the body with every in-breath. And in this way we can bring up energy where it's needed, simply by choosing how we attend to the breath. Noticing the remarkable difference between the in-breath and the out-breath. The in-breath energizing and the out-breath relaxing. And if our energy is on a fairly even keel, we focus on every aspect of the breath equally and allow the attention to grow, cultivate mindfulness. Give all our attention for the next while to the body, sitting, lying, standing on the earth, ground, our home, and breathing, breathing, body breathing. And anything and everything else that arises in our awareness, noting it, but not giving it our attention at this time. Keep coming back to the ground, to the body breathing. So welcome again, friends. I'd like to now share some words on Dhamma, and I'd like to start by paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. So I think I'd like to reflect a little bit today on two things that are closely interrelated: how to meditate and how to relate to the world around us. How to live a skillful life. And I can see that the Buddha gave a lot of guidance on both these aspects of our experience as human beings. There's a lot of wonderful guidance on meditation practice, particularly the Anapanasati Sutta, giving teachings on how to work with awareness of the breath. And also Kayagata Sati Sutta, awareness of the body. These are two suttas next door to each other, aren't they, in Majjhima Nikaya, 118, 119. And also Majjhima number 10, the Satipatthana Sutta, which gives some extra information really about how to develop the awareness of what we can know are the four foundations or four resorts of mindfulness. And so, it's really helpful for us to have a meditation practice, isn't it? And to be able to give time for meditation, ideally on a daily basis. Even better, session in the morning and some time in the evening, so that both at the beginning and also towards the end of the day we have a chance to stop and see how it is, see how the mind is, see how the body is, and to see what's going on, what's actually happening here. And all the rest of the day, of course, we are oftentimes kind of out and about, receiving all sorts of input through the sense doors, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, seeing, and also receiving information in the way of other people's thoughts, our own thoughts, ideas, news. And, it's a very, very rich experience, isn't it? Being a human being, having all these ways of connecting with what is. And there's also limits to what we can perceive, what we can receive, what we can understand. There's only so much we can be aware of in the world around us. We're only receiving certain kind of wavelengths, certain aspects of the energies around us, aren't we? And a lot passes us by, or even goes right through us. There's only so much that we can be aware of. But as the Buddha said, our world is the world of the six senses that are here, that are operating here. And our world is the world that we receive here. It's all we can really know. And many ways in which we receive information lead us to kind of speculate, to proliferate, to imagine, to kind of exaggerate, or in all sorts of different ways, to spin off on all sorts of different tangents, and add to the actual experience that we are receiving. And the ways in which we do this, the ways in which we create our worlds, are connected to the past, connected to our past karma, to the momentum, the energetic forces that have led to this experience right now. Starting with birth of this body, and then the whole kind of trajectory of this life. So we are actually, in a sense, if we're not meditating and or if we're not fully present, experiencing simply what is in this moment, then we'll be in the past. We'll be creating the world according to what we already know, what's already been kind of learned by us. So for instance, when we see a sight, say I'm looking out now the window here in Canmore and I'm seeing the little mini forest that we have in the garden here, and immediately registering, immediately perceiving trees and sunlight and space and the various objects in the room. And I have all sorts of past history coming into play as I name and label the things that are being seen. Simply seeing is something quite different. So we can recognize how there is a very quick, very almost immediate receiving and then perceiving that happens with all the inputs that we receive through all the different sense doors. And the perceptions that we have are conditioned. They depend upon our past, the past. So it's just really helpful to know this, and to know that one of the ways in which the Buddha gave a summary of his teaching was to say to a particular monk in one of the suttas, when there's seeing, let there just be seeing. When there's hearing, just hearing, and so forth, with all the different sense inputs. To be able to be really mindful of what's happening right now is to simply see, to simply hear, to simply feel what's felt right now. And it's really wonderful for us to have a meditation practice, because when we meditate, when we make time, when we stop and renounce the world by coming and finding a quiet place, isn't it, sitting or standing or lying down or even walking, we make the time to simply be here and to bring attention to the body, bring attention to the breath, see what the state of mind is. Making this time, making this space for our formal meditation practice, hopefully daily for most of us, we're actually training ourselves, we're actually showing ourselves how to relate skillfully to the world. And the whole purpose, the whole function really of meditation practice is to allow this quality of mindfulness, this bare attention, this ability to be with what is, and not to embellish and not to add perceptions and thoughts and ideas about what's actually being experienced. The whole purpose of this is to be able to allow this kind of quality of attention to seep through into our everyday life, to manifest in our everyday life, so that we're, rather than being kind of thrown around or being on sort of automatic pilot or being victims of the past, living in the past, we can actually live in the present, and we can see the fullness of each present experience, each momentary experience, and how unnecessary it is actually to add anything to that, how unhelpful it is to dwell in the past, how unhelpful it is to assume that we know what we're seeing, thinking, feeling, touching, tasting, how helpful it is to be able to have a fresh gaze, to be able to be open to the way it is now, you know. It's to see the world through the eyes of innocence, you know, the eyes of truth, so that we're not in a foggy kind of veiled world of our own history, the history that's brought us here. And, you know, it's interesting to me that we save ourselves a lot of emotional turmoil when we can be simply present and allow our meditation practice to inform, you know, our entire lives. Because there's a simplifying that happens, there's a clarity that's there for us, and we can operate through very healthy and light kind of ways of relating to the world emotionally. So I can see that when I'm caught up in the past, when I have something happen and it immediately chimes in for me with all the different times that this person has approached me in this way in the past and spoken to me in this kind of way, it all kind of connects up very quickly, and I'm immediately propelled into irritability or sadness or anxiety, fear, because I know this. I know what's going to happen. I know what this person's agenda is, and I know that, you know, I'm overwhelmed again by this. This is just an example of, you know, the way in which our world tends to constellate around us according to our past, according to our particular issues, our particular desires, our particular fears, our ignorance, in short. And so, you know, if we can stay present, have a meditative attitude throughout our day, incidents happen, perceptions arise, but we can actually notice before we fall into the trap of our history, of our patterns, of our assumptions, you know, our always delusory perceptions around things. Then we can simply notice another person who's saying a few words, and we can feel perhaps some sort of response that's a conditioned response relating to the past, but we can know that this is just a response. It's just a feeling, a series of experiences of perhaps feelings in the body, maybe some thoughts coming and going, and maybe an emotional response of anxiety, fear, irritability, sadness, you know. And when we really start to disentangle ourselves from our past and our conditioning, we can even stop labeling these experiences and just feel what we feel, you know. So what I label as sadness is, what is it really? What is anxiety really? What does fear really manifest as here and now? And it will be indescribable for most of us. There's something going on here. There's a tightening in the belly, or maybe some clenching of the hands, or there's a coldness seeping through the body, or a tremble or a shake, whatever it might be. Even those words are not really getting to the heart of the matter, because the feelings come first, and the words are a poor kind of representation, aren't they, of what's actually happening for us when we have an emotion washing through the body. Just to know that, just to be with that. We can notice, we can be, grateful for our emotional responses to our experiences day by day, moment by moment, because they're telling us so much. They're giving us our history. Our history is presenting itself to us. Our patterns are revealing themselves. Our habits are showing themselves. And all we really have to do is meditate, in the sense of observing, being mindful, allowing our daily practice, our meditation practice, to seep through and to come into the foreground, particularly when we notice some trigger that brings our history to the foreground for us, that brings our history up into our faces. And off we go again. We're reacting again, reacting in the same ways we've always reacted. That can be at the foreground for us. We can be glad, because then we can bring mindfulness to the foreground and simply observe the conditioning. And as we observe conditioning, of course, what happens is it deconstructs, it deconditions. The history starts to fade away. And then our relationship with the world can become something more measured, more peaceful. We can truly develop a stillness through our meditation practice that can manifest in our everyday lives. In all that's going on around us, there can be a stillness. There can be this quality of observing reality, witnessing, isn't it? Being present for, that is completely free from all of the ups and downs and the endless turmoil of world meeting this history, world meeting this karma right here. There's an interface that's very, very potent for us, where the world meets these patterns, this history, this person, and we can see there's a rub, and there's occasionally sparks flying. There's occasionally really strong friction in the form of reactivity, in the form of us being triggered, in the form of us getting anxious, getting angry, getting upset. And this is the time to come back to the mindfulness, to really bring it up, to meditate, to come back to the breath. Whenever I'm triggered, whenever I'm reactive, I need to stop right there and just allow the attention to rest in the body with the breath. And there we are, we're deconstructing. Right in that moment, we're coming out of history, we're letting go of past karma, and we're freeing the heart. And so it's a very wonderful process, a very dynamic process, this process of path. And these meditation factors of bringing in the effort, making the effort to keep coming back to mindfulness, to sammasati, and to allow the mindfulness that we're cultivating in our meditation practice to actually lead to stillness on the mat, stillness when we're sitting, when we're meditating, but also a stillness in relation to the world around us. And this amazing chance then to allow everything that's going on around us in our everyday lives to move us toward liberating the heart. Let every experience kind of be grist for the mill, the mill keeps grinding. Just let all the experiences come in and grind them up. Dismantle our habits, our patterns, and our knee-jerk responses, to the things that happen for us and around us. And it's really wonderful to see how, as I'm sure you know, gradually, as we keep practicing and applying ourselves to the Eightfold Path, developing the Eightfold Path factors, each and every one of them, our relationship to the world begins to get healthier. We're, instead of living in the future or living in the past, operating from habits is to live in the past. To live in the future is to live in fear, to live in anxiety, to be stressed. Because when we're projecting forward into the future, what are we doing? We're trying to create something out of nothing. We're trying to control, reality. And we're almost inevitably fearful because we don't know what's going to happen. We can't tell what's going to happen. And we can proliferate endlessly, can't we, about what might or might not happen. And it's generally pretty consistently a source of anxiety, a source of fear for us. So, to keep developing mindfulness, to keep developing our practice, is to become more and more inclined to rest in the present and let go of our history and let go of any sense of future, any sense of becoming. And how rich is that? How full is this experience? And how peaceful? How peaceful, because when we're here, when we're present, we're embodied. We're feeling what we feel. We're learning through meditation to be alive in the moment, to know how it is right now. And then we can observe, the thoughts, the emotions as they arise. They last for a while, but they're constantly changing within that lasting time. And then they're ceasing, arising and passing, constantly changing. And in this space, in this reality of presence, mindful presence, stillness develops, peace develops, and our emotions arise and pass with great rapidity, and they don't stick. And we don't get overwhelmed. We don't have to be overwhelmed by the difficult and painful emotions. There's a wellspring within us of healthy emotions, healthy responses that we begin to notice. So how wonderful is this? If we're resourced, if we're present, if we're grounded, if we're in touch with what's happening right now, then our responses will reflect this. Our emotional responses will be a manifestation of what is skillful right now. This happens just so naturally for us, doesn't it? It's not an effort. The effort actually is in being on automatic pilot. That's hard work. It's hard work producing the habits and patterns, actually. It feels easeful because it's what we're used to. It's what we know. It's a kind of home for us, a home of dukkha, a home of suffering. But it fits, like the gloves that fit, the shoes that fit. They might actually be too small, or they might be really quite inadequate to keep us warm, but they're what we're used to and they kind of fit. But to be able to be present and to see these patterns for what they are and to let go of the past history is to experience, unknowing, but it's so peaceful. It's so much more relaxing for us, because the truth is always very delicious to us, isn't it? The truth, seeing the way things are, it's enormously releasing. It's an enormous relief to be able to be here, to be truly alive. And the emotions that arise in relation to the world around us are then helpful, healing, supportive, not just for ourselves, but for everyone and everything around us. What are the healthy responses to the world? From a place of presence, a place of grounded awareness. Metta, loving kindness, is the natural response to the world within and the world around us. Loving kindness, it's an unconditional, natural outpouring from the heart that is still, the heart that is at peace. And upekkha, equanimity, is a given when we're able to be fully present, because there's nothing to get ruffled about. There's nothing to shake the heart. There's nothing to fear when we don't have a future, when we know that we don't have a future. We can't go there without fear and anxiety, and so there's really no value in predicting, stressing over what might happen, however compelling it is, however compelling the wish to know what's ahead. We can't know, and there's nothing we can do to make the future this way or that. But what we can most certainly do is to make the present as good as it can be. And from that place, from this very powerful place of presence, we give the best chance for a good future. The future will follow on from this ability to fully dwell in the present. It's so needed. It's so essential for all of us to be able to come home to what's happening right now. It's the only way we can actually have any agency at all in this realm, in this world. And these healthy emotions are a natural result of letting go of the future, letting go of the past, and being present. And this is our contribution then, to be able to be calm, to be able to be fearless, to be able to be unshakable, and to offer this, into the field, into the world around us, with all our interactions internally and our interactions with those around us, and our relationship to nature around us. Loving kindness and equanimity, this is the best we can give. And from this place of really being resourced, really being able to be with what's happening right now, we actually have the opportunity to operate with right action, with right speech, with right livelihood. It's where these qualities really ultimately come from. They come from a place of stillness, presence, and letting go. They come from selflessness, which is the result of presence. Recognizing that the world doesn't revolve around this particular space right here. There's a bigger picture, and I can let go into that. There can be a letting go of the I. There's no I. There's no me. There's no mine. And to be present is to cultivate the understanding the letting go of self, to cultivate the appreciation of change, of incredible flexibility, incredible possibility. But we can only know that now, here and now. And to be able to let go of suffering, to let go of all the fear, all the anxiety, the quaking, the trembling, the shaking. Only presence, only the cultivation through meditation of present mindful awareness, stillness, is going to enable us to be able to face, understand, and overcome all the negative emotions, And then what's left, We're beings with kind of an original purity rather than original sin. We're actually, we have original purity. And so when the obscurations, when the defilements, when the fears, when the attachments, when the ignorance is able to dissipate through our meditation practice and our life practice of presence, of awareness, then there's no more grasping to suffering. There's no more cloud. There's no more obscuration. There's no more fog or mist, or the skies are no longer overcast and the sun can shine. Our natural state is a state of well-being. It's a state of loving kindness. It's a radiation, if you like, of benevolence. It's a peace and a calm that's completely unshakable. And where there's suffering around us, what's our natural response when we're present to suffering? It's compassion. We quite naturally resonate with the pain that we witness. When we're present, we're completely open to that. We're completely intimately connected to all beings. All that we experience around us becomes us. And there's a resonating, which is compassion. And it's not a suffering. It's not a source of suffering whatsoever. It's a seeing. It's a feeling. It's a holding lovingly to the other, the suffering one. It's an openness to the other's suffering. It's a seeing and it's a hearing of the other in their suffering that is healing, that is capable of really meeting suffering and not shying away from it, not turning away, not needing to protect ourselves from suffering. And this is very valuable because this is the beginning of right action, right response, knowing how to proceed. If there's suffering around us, how do we help? First, we need to be able to not be overwhelmed by the suffering. We need to be able to be present. And when we're present, compassion arises. And from that compassion comes the right action, the right speech, the right way of manifesting in relation to that suffering. And when there's joy, of course, we rejoice. Mudita is the quality of a healthy heart, where there's happiness in the field, where people are having good experiences, things are going well for others. We feel naturally a sense of rejoicing, wanting to celebrate with them. And again, because there's a resonance with what is, we're absolutely open, connected, and you could say empathic, where we are the other. We're not separate. We know we're not separate when we're not obscured by defilements, by hindrances, by confusion, by delusion, by desires, and by all the ways in which we are averse to the world, when we're struggling with our history, struggling with the past. So in short, I would say, to be able to meditate is such a huge blessing for us. And through our meditation practice, we're learning to apply mindfulness and its resultant stillness to our everyday lives, aren't we? To everything that's happening within us and around us. And when we're present in this way, we can see hindrances as they arise. We can feel the negative emotions as they arise and pass. We can allow ourselves to fully feel our history as it unfolds, and not be that, but observe that. Allow that to do what it will naturally do when we're present, which is to arise, to last for a while, constantly changing, and then to fade completely away into oblivion. And we move through our history. We're no longer identifying with history. We're no longer the owners of karma. We see karma as a force in this world. It also arises and passes, and we are not defined by that. We're not trapped. We can let go. We can let go of all the sources of suffering and continue to develop ever-deepening presence and awareness. And through this presence and awareness, there's a clearing out, that the whole past history that's brought us here can be cleared out, can be cleansed, can be let go of, can dissolve. And the sun can come out. The sun can begin to shine, maybe at intervals, and then gradually a little bit more. And the sun is nothing but these qualities. All that's left then, it's like the gold in the crucible. You burn up all the defilements, burn away all the dross through our mindfulness, through our wise attention, through our stillness, through our presence. And what's left, the gold, the beautiful, however many carat gold that's left, is pliable, is beautiful, it's radiant, it shines, shining with these natural responses from a healthy heart of love, of compassion, of joy, and of peace, of equanimity, the unshakable heart that can, really lend itself to healing. We heal ourselves first. First, we want to really pay attention to healing here. Give it all the time you can. It's the most important thing we can do. We can really recognize that agency in the world, right agency, right action, right speech, right livelihood come from a heart that's healed, a heart that's healthy. So this is our priority. Heal first. This one will heal first. And then from this place, we can really offer something of value into the world. And it's not a huge effort even, it's natural. The whole spiritual path in a way is simply becoming natural, simply being part of nature, which is what we've always been and we always will be. But we want to be able to recognize that, let go into that, allow ourselves to be what we are, which is nothing but nature. Dhamma. So let's be the Buddha seeing the Dhamma, each one of us, and allow healing to happen. And then we can help, we can serve, we can offer all that we have into this world to ease and release and relieve suffering wherever we find it. So I think that's enough for now, everyone. And I'm going to have a look at the chat here. Thank you all for being here and for your contributions in the chat box. Wonderful to see people coming in from all different parts of the world, all different time zones. It's very lovely of you to be here live for this session. And just want to answer Nico. Thank you for asking. Can you follow the 8 Noble Truth without meditating? Thank you for that question. That's really a good one. The Noble Eightfold Path of Practice is the Buddha's kind of prescription, the healing journey, to heal us from what? To heal us from suffering, and to address the causes of suffering, and to show us how to cultivate letting go of suffering, to find ourselves at the end of suffering, ultimately a place of complete freedom from suffering. Well, the Eightfold Path, Nico, has different kind of aspects to it, doesn't it? So there are the 3 factors that are about behavior. And as I was saying, how we manifest in the world, the Buddha gave kind of 3 aspects to cultivate skillfully, which is how we speak, how we act, and how we spend our time, you know, how we work, what is our livelihood, what is our contribution as people who have skills, who can work in the world. So these 3 aspects are the Sila aspects, which are really relating to goodness, to developing virtue, you know, so that we're not harming in any way, not adding to the suffering of this world, but actually working to alleviate suffering, to at least be harmless. And so these aspects are very practical, very much how we manifest in the world. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. Then there are the wisdom aspects of the path, right view and right intention. And these 2, you know, are ways of thinking and approaching life that we can cultivate that don't necessarily require meditation, but which are very helped by meditation practice and which lend themselves to a kind of contemplative approach to life. Right view, right understanding is understanding the 4 Noble Truths. So understanding the Eightfold Path, how to put it into practice, understanding the first Noble Truth, which is the truth of suffering, that there is something amiss here. There is a kind of dis-ease. There's something that needs healing here. You know, there's ways in which we suffer. So looking at that, investigating what is the cause of suffering. Second Noble Truth, the cause of suffering is wanting and not wanting. It's desire in all its different forms. It's hatred in all its different forms. Confusion in all their different forms. And the ways in which these obscurations, these clouds, these kind of, hindrances really kind of clog up our hearts, our sources of suffering for us are the dis-ease that we're dealing with. And then the third Noble Truth, the way to let go of all of this suffering, the way to let go of the obscurations, you know, and the Eightfold Path is the way. So understanding this is something very important for us to cultivate right view, to look at the Four Noble Truths again and again, you know, really consider the Buddha's teaching around the Four Noble Truths and see what you can understand, see what it means to you, how you can use these teachings to understand more clearly how to relate to life. And then right intention, the Buddha is encouraging here harmlessness, you know, avoiding harm, avoiding cruelty, and also developing the quality of letting go, renunciation, letting go of habits, letting go of patterns, letting go of our knee-jerk responses to life, observing reactivity in our meditation practice or in our lives, and being willing to look at that, investigate that, and not necessarily follow the same old patterns, you know, see how there's suffering manifesting there and be willing to study, scrutinize, and let go of suffering. Now, the thing is, Nico, that the way to really do the work of changing our habits, of observing the conditioning that's here for us, and of getting a handle on how to begin to move through and let go of old habits, of our past history, of all our suffering, it really requires these other path factors, which are the samadhi factors. They're like the meditative factors of the path: right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, right stillness. So I would say that it's pretty clear from the teachings of the Buddha that he was really encouraging us to meditate. He was encouraging us to find a quiet place, a secluded spot, and sit, or whatever posture we find most helpful. Sitting's probably the best for most of us. Sit ourselves down and bring our attention right here. So the renunciation aspect of right intention, let go of the world around you right now and pay attention to what's happening right here, this mind, this body. This is meditation, and many suttas, the Buddha is encouraging us to meditate. Meditate, he would say, meditate. Time is short, life is very short. Don't waste time in distractions, meditate. So I would say, Nico, that, you can follow the Eightfold Path to a certain extent without meditating, because you can really focus on living a very virtuous, moral, upright life, harmless life, and developing wisdom. But I would say that to really fully cultivate the Eightfold Path, you really want to develop the right effort that leads to right mindfulness and right samadhi, right stillness, so that we're learning how to be present, and we're learning how to observe reality, and we're learning how to make peace with reality. This is, it would be very difficult, I guess, to cultivate in this way without actually doing meditation. And to meditate, ideally, it's good to be still. It's good to be alone if we can, or in a group of people who are also practicing meditation. And it's so helpful to give ourselves a boost for our meditation practice if we're struggling, if we're not inclined to meditate, to actually go on a retreat, try it out, put ourselves in a very helpful environment with lots of good spiritual friends around us, and allow ourselves to be guided and receive some Dhamma teachings, and actually give time and energy for meditation. I find that really helpful. If there's any sense of struggle with practice, it's really good to go find a teacher, ask questions, ask for some meditation guidance, and better still, to go on a retreat if that's at all possible. So I hope that's a good answer for your question, and I really would encourage you to give meditation a go if you're not already, which you probably are, I know. Oh, Shadow of Labels responding to Nico with a lovely comment. Thank you, Shadow of Label. Doing meditation exercises in everyday motion works pretty good. I just so agree with you, and would really recommend that to anyone and everyone, because if we, say in the course of our day, find ourselves, having to walk from A to B, what a great opportunity for us to do walking meditation. It doesn't matter where we are. We can be in a crowded city, in the subway, wherever. Can we pay attention to the feet touching the ground? Can we notice the breath? When we're traveling in and out of work, doing a commute, in the car, driving, can we bring in awareness of the body sitting, the hands on the wheel? watch the breath as we drive. It doesn't detract at all. It's not dangerous at all. To be able to bring in some body awareness makes us more alert, more present, more on the ball, you know, and it helps us so much, of course, in developing presence, coming back to the moment we're in, being where we are. Oftentimes when we're on the move, when we're in everyday motion, we tend to be straining to get to the next thing, don't we? Or we might be cogitating about this, that, and the other. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's so, so valuable if we can allow ourselves to come back to presence at those times. And rather than being caught up in the thoughts or the forward momentum, then we're actually aware of what's happening here. Oh, there's a real push. There's a real spinning going on. There's a lot of anxiety in the system. Oh, there's tension here. Let's see what's really happening. And as soon as we bring in mindfulness and presence, the body can start to relax. The mind can do what it does quite naturally. When we allow space for the mind, it will have its momentum. Thoughts will arise and pass, but slowly but surely there'll be a settling that happens. Everything in the body and mind, everything in nature is always moving in the direction of peace. You know, healing is a natural process. Peacefulness is a natural inclination. The Buddha said everything is inclining toward Nibbana. All we have to do really is to allow that to happen. And when we're operating on automatic pilot, we're just not allowing that to happen. But when we can come to presence, bring in some body awareness, bring in breath awareness, then we're making that space again for the natural inclination, the natural movement towards peacefulness. Peacefulness, spaciousness, clarity. Don't we all want that? So yeah, thank you, Shadow of Label. When we're in our everyday lives, going from A to B, we're moving around, doing this and that, we can still bring in awareness, and how enormously valuable that is for us. And in fact, that's what we want to be doing. We want a continuity of practice. This is the way our spiritual development takes us. It takes us to the ability to be mindful, to be present, to be aware in every moment. And then every moment, every experience is teaching us. And every teaching that we're receiving is an opportunity for us to let go, to come back to stillness, to peace. Let the sun shine, you know. It's effortless and it's of great, great benefit. It's more beneficial than anything we might think we need to do to put things right or to make the world a better place. If we can just come back from all of that good intention and rest in the presence that's our natural state, then goodness, right action, effective, you know, and utterly beneficial will manifest. So just looking through, thank you again, Shadow of Label, for your helpful comment. Just looking through to see if there's any other questions. There's a couple of questions. Thank you, Scott. Any advice to help my parents see the Dhamma? That's a lovely question, and how important it is for us actually to share the goodness of our practice with those around us, and maybe particularly our parents, because, you know, we can all feel very grateful to our parents for having this life. If it were not for our parents, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this opportunity to practice. So it's surely a very, very helpful thing for us to be able to share with our parents and support them on the path. Now, some parents don't have any interest whatsoever in Dharma practice, in Buddhism, in the meditation and so forth. Not a problem. What we can do is see where they are, see how it is for them, we generally know our parents pretty well and see what will work for them. So we can look, for instance, at the 8 path factors. Okay, so can I support my parents in virtue? Is there anything that's happening for them where I can kind of encourage them to develop more virtue, or I can kind of discuss with them or share with them maybe some misgivings over certain things they might be doing that are not wholesome, in the most respectful, gentle way that I can, knowing that if I'm trying to teach my parents, they're not going to be very impressed by that. It's not about trying to teach our elders. It's more like, what can I share? What can I share with them? How can I share with them in such a way that will support them and maybe be of value for them? So to share our maybe joy and giving, or the peacefulness we experience through harmless behaviors, any ways in which we can encourage our parents in virtue. Or maybe it could be that there are some things we can share with them that would be of interest to them, that are wise teachings from the Buddha. Or possibly, they may be interested to hear about our meditation practice, how to meditate, what's it like? Do you want to have a go? Can I give you a bit of guidance, and can we sit together? It's surprising to me how often people who one might assume would have no interest in meditation at all, actually, when they sit and start watching the breath, are just amazed and astounded and delighted by what happens for them. So I would always say, even if we wouldn't assume our parents would be at all interested in a meditation, it's sometimes worth describing, sharing, speaking a little bit about how it is for us, because after all, we're their children, and they're going to be interested to some extent. Most parents are interested in what's happening for their children. So I would say sharing with parents, and these are just a few suggestions. Think about the Eightfold Path and think about all the different ways in which you're developing spiritually. And maybe there's something in there that would be really lovely to share with the parents. I hope that's helpful. Thanks, Scott. And okay, time's running out. I'm going to very quickly look at the last 2 questions and see what I can offer in a very short time. Thank you, Bhawani. What will go from one birth to another birth? It's unfinished business. Basically, it's any unseen desires, aversions, and ignorance will have a momentum that will carry through lifetime after lifetime until understanding dawns and letting go happens. Is it namakandas? Namakandas, yeah, it's mental phenomena. Yes, it is. It's sankhara. It's the formations, constellations of suffering, kind of knots or obscure, kind of obstructions in the heart mind that will have to continue until they've been able to come to a place of cessation. As all khandhas are anicca and anatta, how will they influence the future rebirth, Ayya? Thank you. Well, it's a bit of an unknown. The future is entirely unknown. What we can know is that right here and now, we do have agency. So through our understanding of suffering, we can begin to let go of suffering. We develop a kind of weariness with it all when we're willing to be present and open and with suffering. Things can automatically then kind of come to resolution. Things can arise and pass freely. When there's ignorance, when there's holding on to greed, hatred, delusion, then there's a kind of stuck quality. And this is what has to just keep going, existing, manifesting until it's released through insight, through wisdom. I hope that's kind of a bit sketchy as an answer, but that's really all I can manage in this moment. Bhawani, I hope that's okay for you. And finally, any advice for arthritis? I'm happy, Sunny, thank you. Any advice for arthritis, rheumatism, people to do meditation on how? Yeah, thank you, because a lot of people, of course, have to deal with pain in the body when they meditate. And I would say that, it's a great opportunity to be with any kind of chronic illness, any kind of pain that is there, to learn to accept and to patiently endure. It's very, very difficult, but meditation certainly helps. And we can try both working with the pain directly and also learning how to be with the body in other ways. So to notice the areas that are not painful, to work with the breath, be with the breath. So there are ways of kind of moving away sometimes to ease the situation and moving into the pain sometimes, also to ease the situation, because the awareness, the insight, the willingness to be with what is enormously healing and helpful. It doesn't mean the pain necessarily goes away. There's no benefit in wishing for that or hoping for that whatsoever. But no, the learning is to be with what is and to come to a place of peace within that. And we can certainly learn that through our meditation practice. And it's funny, even the most unpleasant, difficult feelings, we can change our relationship with them. One of adversity and wanting to get away from can come to something like an appreciation for the wisdom that arises as we're able to work with pain, the compassion that arises. The healing can happen within and around that. It's quite remarkable and so helpful. Anyone who has chronic pain, meditation's definitely of great value. Being with rather than shying away from pain, from dukkha, it's a revelation how much benefit we can really appreciate, we can really feel from just that willingness to turn towards rather than to push away reality. So I hope that's helpful, Happy Sunny, and thank you very much for that. Thanks everyone for your questions. So valuable and so appreciated, and thank you for being here, all of you, for this time. Ayya.